Hello and welcome to Administration Wise. In this video, we will continue our series of administrative thinker, and this is one more classical thinker in this series is Max Weber. In the administrative science, bureaucracy occupies a significant place, and the Max Weber's name is synonymous with the term bureaucracy itself. Is synonymous with the term bureaucracy itself. He enjoys a unique place in galaxy of social scientists, and he had attempted to explain the concept of bureaucracy by analyzing the encompassing diverse field of study ranging from the history of the comparative social science and have earned him the immortality in this field as he had gave the idea of ideal type bureaucracy. He is a German sociologist, philosopher and political economist whose idea profoundly influenced the societal theory and research. Weber's influence on the thinkers on administration is obvious from the fact that the majority of proportions and propositions and models of the bureaucracy spanning about the century are considered either as different version of the Weberian model or attempt to control it, and thus making the Weber's conceptualization is an important point of the beginning for understanding the bureaucracy and its all aspects. Bureaucracy and its theory that were given by Weber on legitimacy and domination have informed the basis for the number of further studies as well. Let us quickly look upon his life and work. He was a man born in the year 1864 at Erfurt, Prussia, and became one of the founding figures of the sociology and wrote extensively on the variety of subjects including the sociology, the religion, politics and economics as well. There are some factors in the Weber's life which need to be considered before attempting to analyze his writing. First, that is the Weber's urge for analysis and systematized study began at the age of 13, and second one is that he always preferred the knowledge obtained through the practical experience than that of the librarian research. Means practical experience is very much important according to Weber. Third one is that he was progressive in outlook and yet conservative at heart, and last is that his writing reflects the social condition of Germany as the area of his work of that time, and he saw the decline of the liberalism and the threat of the individual in the bureaucratization of the society. About the authority and legitimacy of the Weber. Considering this, the works of the Weber on administration and his theory on domination, leadership, and legitimacy gave him a special merit and a special mention in this field. He propounded these theories with a broad perspective, keeping in view the religion and society and the way that they mold the pattern of the leadership. And the Weber differentiated authority, power, and control to him, and a person could be said to possess the power if in a social relationship his will could be enforced despite resistance, and such exercise of power become controlled in order to structure the human grouping that owe their existence to a special instance of the West that control authority, and it manifests when a command of definite content elicits obedience on the part of a specific individual. To Weber, authority was identical with the authoritarian power of command, and Weber identified five essential components of authority. He identified five essential components of authority that were an individual or a body of individual who rule an individual or a body of individual who were ruled, the will of the rulers to influence the conduct of the ruled, and an expression of that will or command, and the evidence of the influence of the rulers in the terms of the objective degree of command, and the last one, that is fifth one, is the direct and indirect evidence of the influence in the terms of the subjective acceptance with which the ruled obey the command. He also categorized the persons in the organization as he termed that all administration means domination. All administration is a kind of domination. According to his categorization, First category is the one who obey the command. Second one is the persons who are personally interested in seeing the existing domination continuing because they derive the benefit from it. Third one is to participate in the domination in the sense that the exercise of the functions is divided among them, and the fourth one is the hold themselves in the readiness for the exercise of these functions. Basically, his concept of authority includes three types of authority. First one is the traditional, charismatic, and the legal rational authority, which we will see in the further slide. Traditional authority. It is an authority that derives its legitimacy from the acceptance of the hoary past. It is the past-based authority. And the person exercising the authority generally are called masters, and they enjoy the authority by virtue of their inherited status. ये उन्हें inheritance में मिली हुई है. Their commands carry the legitimacy because of the custom, but they can also give the orders based on their personal decision, and thus the conformity with customs and personal arbitrariness are two characteristics of the traditional authority, and the person who obey the orders are called followers. Hence, it is based on the established custom and the historical practices that often seen as the monarchies and the tribal system. Next one is charismatic authority. It is a kind of the leader that may be prophet or a hero who substantiate the claim by virtue of his magical power, some type of magical follower base, or the heroism, or the other extraordinary gift or the qualities. It is based on charisma and its acceptance from the basis of legitimacy. Weber defines charisma as the quality of an individual and their personality by virtue of which he is set apart from the ordinary man and treated as endowed with the supernatural, superhuman, and at least especially exceptional power and the qualities. Next one is the legal authority, the legal rational authority. This is the kind that, according to Weber, is most legitimate one, and Weber found most of his theory on the basis of this category only. It is a kind of manifestation of the legal authority that are found in the organization where the rules are applied judicially and in accordance with the ascertainability principles valid for all members in the organization, and the members who exercise the power are the superior who are appointed or elected by the legal procedure to maintain the legal order. Most of the rules in this kind of authority are documented, and the subject, the persons to command, are legal equal who obey the law, and the apparatus that implements the system of legal authority is also subject to same principle. Hence, the organization is continuous and its members are subject to rules based on rules and regulations, and which limit the authority with the necessary control in its exercise. Weber, as I already said, has believed that all the three types of authority claim legitimacy as long as the ruled accept them, and authority ceases to carry legitimacy when the rulers do illegal things, ignore the tradition, and lose the charisma. Weber discusses in detail the three types of authority as also the kind of leadership, and he states that the pure type of authority are always found in the combination rather than separated from each other. But the Weber insists that there is a need to analyze them and separately to find the composition of the legal, traditional, charismatic elements present in the combination and in the possible domain, that with the passage of time one type of authority tends to acquire the characteristic of other, resulting in the modification of the institutional structure. And of the three type of authority, Weber preferred this legal rational authority or the domination because of the inherent rationalities in it, and he maintains that the legal type of authority or the domination alone is suitable for the modern type of government and governance system, and Weber designated his model of bureaucracy keeping the legal rationality in mind, as it based on legal formalized rules and the procedure, and is characterized by modern bureaucratic states. Now, bureaucracy. The bureau or public officers in some form or the others were always adjunct of organized government all over the world. For instance, in China, even in the period of 186 BC, public officers were existence and persons for those officers used to be recruited through the competitive exams way back that time only. And the history is replete with the instances and reasons to show the individual appointments to the government offices acquire special characteristics, some of which were the even universal. It was de Gournay who coined the term bureaucracy for the first time. He was a French economist during the first half of the 18th century. First half of 18th century. Several French writers after de Gournay popularized the word, while the British social scientists started using the word only in the 19th century. J.S. Mill, an eminent political economist, included the bureaucracy in his analysis. Mosca and Michael are two other important sociologists who wrote extensively on bureaucracy, yet one of the main prominence that this word gained after the work of Max Weber only. Weber never defined the term bureaucracy, but he only described its characteristics. He defined its characteristics as an administrative body of appointed officials. An administrative body of appointed officials. In bureaucracy, he included explicitly appointed officials only leaving out two elected ones. And as in the case of authority, Weber categorized bureaucracy into two forms that were the patrimonial bureaucracy and the legal rational bureaucracy. Patrimonial and legal rational type of bureaucracy. And this type of bureaucracy is known as Weberian model of the bureaucracy. Weber believed that the legitimacy was basic to nearly all system of authority, and legitimacy of the authority and depends on five important beliefs. These are the legal code of that can be established, which can claim obedience from the member of an organization. Second one is the law, that is a system of abstract rules which are applied to the specific cases, and that administration look after the interest of the organization within the limits of laws. And the individual exercising the authority also obeys the impersonal order. Fourth one is only Kua members. Kua members. That not only the Kua member obeys the law, and the obedience is not to the person who hold the authority, but to the impersonal order which grants them that position. He used to define bureaucracy as highly structured, formalized, and the impersonal organization. Model of bureaucracy. The model of legal rational bureaucracy, Weber designed following characteristics. First one is the official business is conducted on the continuous basis. One is continuous basis. Second one is the administrative agency that functions in accordance to the stipulated rules and is characterized by three interrelated attributes. First one in these rules are the power and function of each official is delimited in terms of impersonal criteria. The officials is given matching authority to carry out the responsibility, and the third type is the means of compulsion at his disposal and strictly limited, and the condition under which their employment is legitimate are clearly defined. Third one is every officials and every office is part of hierarchy of authority, and higher official or the officers supervise their lower ones. Fourth one is the officials do not own the resource necessary for rendering their duties, but they are accountable to the official use of these resources, and the official business and the private affairs, official revenue and the private income are strictly must be separated. Offices cannot be filled by incumbent as private property which can be sold or inherited, and the administration is conducted on the basis of written documents only. Weber also discussed in detail the characteristic of the officials. The official is personally free and appointed to the official position on the basis of a contract. Means officials should be appointed on the basis of contract. They must exercise the authority delegated to him in accordance with the impersonal rules, and his loyalty is expressed through the faithful execution of his duties. The appointment and the job placement depends on his technical qualification, and the administrative work is his full-time occupation, and the work is rewarded by the regular salary and must have by the prospects of regular advancement in a lifetime career. The impersonal order. In the Weber's ideal type of bureaucracy, the most striking and thought-provoking idea is his belief that impersonal order should orient the action of bureaucracy both in the issuance of command to the subordinate and their obedience to them. To put this in the words, the Merton has once commented that it was Merton who commented that authority, the power of control which derives from the acknowledged status, inheres in the office and not in the particular person who performs the official role. And the stage of the depersonalization of relationship also plays its part in the bureaucrat's trained incapacity. Means impersonal order refers to the system where the rules and the procedures are applied uniformly without any personal kind of consideration. It should be based on office to office connection only. कोई भी personal type of relation की बात नहीं की गई है यहाँ पे. Next one is about rules. The fundamental characteristic of the Weberian rational legal authority is attribute of the continuous organization of the official function bound by rules only, and the rules which regulate the conduct of an office may be technical rules or the norms, and their rational application, however, requires specialized training. And as has been rightly said by Merton, the adherence of rules, originally conceived as means, become an end itself. Means rules should act as means, but it was the time when it became the end, and obeying the rule is the only end for the bureaucrats in many of the cases, as observed till time also. An instrumental value becomes the terminal value, and the rules become more important than the game. And this part of rules causes the procedural delay as they create the complication in the administration. It ensures the consistency, predictability, and fairness, according to Weber, model of bureaucracy. Next one is sphere of competence. To Weber, a specified sphere of competence involves the sphere of obligation to perform the function which have been marked off as a part of systematic division of labor, and the provision of the incumbent with the necessary authority to carry out these functions, and the clearly defined means of compulsion subject to the definite condition of these rules. Next one is hierarchy. Hierarchy in bureaucracy implies a clear chain of command, with each level of authority having control on the just lower level of it. And Weber argued that the organization of office follows the principle of hierarchy, that is, each lower office is under the control of supervision of higher one. And he also states that the rule of the administrative staff under the supreme authority is the organized in the clearly defined hierarchy of the officers. Next one is personal and public rules. Weber distinguished between the personal and the public ends, emphasizing that the bureaucrats should separate their personal interest from that of the official duties. And there is a great amount of utility of the relevance of the Weber's ideal type of as far as it pleads for the separation of administrative staff from the ownership of the means of production of the administration, and it also pleads for the complete absence of the appropriation of official position by the incumbent administrative staff. And these are the necessary checks on the bureaucrats to prevent them from the misusing of their position, so that they must have to separate their personal and private interests. Next one is the written documents. As we had already discussed, the rules must be documented in the form as mentioned in the theory of Weber's ideal type bureaucracy. The written documents and records are crucial for the bureaucracy in order to maintain the transparency and accountability as well. The last principle of the bureaucracy, that is given by Weber, is that the administrative act, decision and the rules are formulated and recorded in the written even in cases where the oral discussions is the rule or is the even mandatory in case. Documents make the administration accountable to the people and provide a ready reference for the future course of action as well. Future के लिए भी एक reference present करता है written documents. Now, critics of the Weber. The model of Weber on bureaucracy is criticized on three main points. First one is the rationality of his model. Second one is the suitability of his model as per the administrative requirement of different environments and ecology and the changing times. And fourth one is the efficiency of the model. Whether the model can attain the maximum efficiency as visualized by Weber or not. In this through, the Robert Martin and the other sociologists have questioned the rationality of the legal rational model of the Weber as it produces certain dysfunctional consequences to the Martin. The structure, especially its hierarchy and rules, which is rational in Weber's sense, can easily generate conscience and consequences which are unexpected and detrimental to the attainment of objective of the organization. And in stressing this point, Martin is only providing a more sophisticated vindication of the view that the bureaucracy means inefficiency. Philip Selznick, in this way, pointed that the division of function in the organization shows how the subunit set the goals of their own and which may conflict with the purpose of the organization as a whole. Martin and Selznick have shown the formal specialization of the organizational structure outlined by Weber is insufficient as the description of how the bureaucrats will in fact behave because the officials have their own characteristics as social beings beyond those which our administrative code specifies, and these criticisms reflect the major insights on the behavioral side and the industrial sociology as well. Next critic is Talcott Parson, who translated the Weber's famous book The Wirtschaft and Gesellschaft. Book is Wirtschaft and Gesellschaft. He questions the internal consistency of the Weber's ideal type bureaucracy and personal draws the attention to the fact that the Weber accepts the administrative staff to be the technically superior as well as possesses the right to give orders, and but this itself gives the right to conflict within the bureaucracy in itself, and since it is not always possible to ensure that higher position in the bureaucracy of authority will be met by the equivalent professional skill, so in such case the individual working in an organization must face and will can face the problem of whom to obey, and it may cause a confusion with the right to command or the man with the greater expertise. Using Parsons' criticism as a starting point, Alvin Goldner distinguished two major types of bureaucracy. First one is the punishment center, and in which the members of the organization conform the reluctantly to the rules which they consider are imposed on them by an alien group. And second one is the representative bureaucracy, where the members regard the rules as necessary on the technical grounds and in their own interest as well. Gardner and others have raised the problem of compliance and with the rules by the members of an organization, not so much because of the informal processes arising within the administrative structure, but to the condition outside the organization which orient the behavior of the members and the rules as well. Reinhard Bendix, one of the famous intellectual biographer of the Weber, argues that against the belief that it is possible to adhere to the rule without intrusion of the general social and the political values. All rules have to be applied to the particular cases, and it is here that the attitude of the officials plays a dominant role in the making of the decision. Similarly, Rudolph complained that the Weber's model carries a misconception that the administration was a rational machine and the officials were the technical functionaries. Means it considered the administration as a kind of machine and the staff as the functionaries and the cogs of that machine as only. A number of critics like Peter Blau believed that the Weberian model of bureaucracy cannot be applied to the administration of different places and the different times. Blau felt that the fresh look has to be taken at the concept of rational administration, and in the changing environment, the attainment of the organizational objectives depends on the perpetual changes in the bureaucratic structure and the administration. That is why the efficiency cannot be guaranteed by tethering to the one thumb rule of bureaucracy, and the efficiency cannot be guaranteed in this way. According to Bloch, the efficient administration is possible only when the individual is allowed to identify with the purpose of the organization and to adopt the behavior of his adoption and the perception of changing circumstances. Robert Parthas, who considered the Weber's concept of bureaucracy that makes an implicit assumption about the human motivation which are not necessarily valid for non-Western environment, and William Dalney, who considers the patrimonial bureaucracy may well be more conducive to the economic growth in the underdeveloped societies and the regional bureaucracy of the Bavarian type of bureaucracy. Joseph La Plambora, who believes that the developing society may find Russian and the Chinese method of administration more effective than that of the Western bureaucracy. According to Frederick Burin, Weber's thesis ignores the important changes brought about the operation of the bureaucracy by the rise of doctrine of public liability and accountability. He talked about doctrine of public liability and accountability. Weber has defined his ideal type as internally consistent, and only due to the reason that he might have thought that it may attain the maximum efficiency, but the Goldner, who tested the Weber's ideal type empirically, found that it has internal contradictions such as tension between the claims of expertise and the claims of obedience as well, based on the discipline and the rules. La Plambora, who points out that the bureaucracy heavily encumbered by the Weberian norms and may be less efficacious instrument of the economic change, and while giving the Indian example, he adds that in a place like India, public administration steeped in the tradition of the Indian civil services may be less useful as development entrepreneurs than those who are not so rigidly tied to the motions and the bureaucratic status, hierarchy, and the impartiality. William Dalney, who has tried to utilize the Weberian ideal type of for creating the development construct, concludes that unless the further ideal types are created, the existing Weberian work seems to have little applicability outside the Western Europe and the certain Commonwealth countries and the United States. Simon and March included that the Weber in the company of the classical thinker like Gulick and Erwin, as he too did not pay any attention to the human behavior in the organization, and Weberian ideal type would not attain the maximum efficiency as it emphasizes more on the structure of the bureaucracy than that of the human being who personify it. And the Philip Selnick and the others criticized the Weber's work for his neglect of the power that the bureaucrat assumes, whereby he is increasingly preoccupied with his own social position and in the end subverts the professed goal of the organization only on his own power and the position. Hence, we had discussed so many critics and the criticism of the Weber's work of the bureaucracy. Now, in order to conclude his work, the critics of the Weber argued that the Weberian model of bureaucracy lacks the empirical validity, particularly when the related to the modern administration, but the Weber constructed his ideal type keeping in mind the condition of Germany only, that too of his time. To say that it does not suit the modern condition is not appropriate because at the start of the 19th century, nobody, including Weber, could ever visualize the changes that have come about in the last 5 or 6 decades, and which altered the very nature of the society. And if the Weber has said that his ideal type is superior and permanent, it is only because he compared his legal rational model with the traditional and charismatic type of the model of bureaucracy. As observed by Martin Albro, the Weber in his German writing would have used the word rationality and efficiency in the different contexts. Moreover, the Weber might not have visualized all the meanings attached to the English word of the efficiency. If the Weber has said that his model would attain maximum efficiency, it was because of his love for the legal rationality only. And he thought that his model is permanent simply because he expected that the advancement in the civilization in this train would also increase the adherence to the rationality. And the other criticism is on the stress of the formalism, as noted by Albro, and the formal rationality has increased manifold in the present day administration. The researchers on the decision making operation and research and other management techniques would contribute to the scientific content of the administration, which in turn enhances the formalism in the administration. Hence, today we see the practices in all the societies of the world were being proved correct when the societies, as said, which are once governed by bureaucracy can never get rid of it, and the Afro-Asian countries starting from the India could get rid of the alien rule but not from the bureaucratic practices established by the colonial rulers. Hence, the Weberian model no doubt includes both positive and the negative elements, and the elements such as selection through the merit and the technical qualification, the complete absence of the appropriation of official position by the incumbent come under the positive category, while the elements such as the impersonal order, rules, spheres of the competence, hierarchy, and the technical rules and written documents from the negative category as well. Hence, the negative elements are given greater weightage in the model, and the positive elements get got out and favored by the huge team of the negativism. So what we can say that we must look upon the positive terms and the positive way out of his model. Those who criticize the Weberian model are not criticizing Weber but the present day bureaucracy, which more or less reflect his model. Hence, the talk of debureaucratization or less bureaucracy appears to be idealistic, and for we are not able to avoid bureaucracy even in our welfare and the development organization because of the weakness inherent in the individual and the organization as well. Hence, in conclusion, the Max Weber theories on authority and the bureaucracy continue to shape the modern public administration and the organizational studies very well in the modern time as well. Let us take a quick brief of his model. So, Weber's contribution to the study of bureaucracy can be summarized as the Max Weber gave a broad-based scholar model for the bureaucracy and defined the administration as exercise of authority and identified the different forms of legitimacy, the traditional, charismatic, and legal and rational model, and analyzed the nature of exercise of the authority in the ideal type of the authority. Weber considered the legal authority as the rational and called it the legal rational way of authority, and he considered the bureaucracy as the institutional form of the legal rational authority as the most appropriate to govern a modern day government. He described in detail the characteristic of the legal rational bureaucracy, which popularly known as the Weberian model of bureaucracy. Weber laid stress on the legitimacy of the legal rational authority, which is based on the impersonal order, rules, and the sphere of competence, hierarchy, and the written documents, technically qualified people, and the separation of the personal and the public ends as well. In his model of bureaucracy that attracted the criticism mainly on three grounds. First one is the rationality, second one is suitability, and third one suitability to the places and the changing times, and the third one is the efficiency. The core of the criticism is on its emphasis on the structure and neglect of the human behavior. The model of the is described by some of as a structural approach to the organization. The Weberian model has both the positive and the negative feature, as we had already discussed, and the model continues to form a framework for the analysis and the criticism for improvement of the bureaucracy as a whole, and that give and provide an sense of immorality to this model of Weber. Hence, we came to an end of this video, and that's all about the Weber's model of bureaucracy and his work on the bureaucracy. Thank you for your time being, and keep signing.